Hey, you. Welcome to the Becoming Her podcast. I'm Jessica, and this is a space where we talk about everything. We're going to be real and unfiltered as we talk about life, mindset, faith, discipline, and what it looks like to actually become the woman God created you to be. And guys, don't worry, there's something in it for you too. So wherever you are right now, driving, working out, enjoying your morning, or maybe even ending your night, I'm happy you're here. And I hope you enjoy this episode. Have you ever felt like you're just exhausted even when you're sleeping? Even when, you've had maybe an off day, or you're like, well, I didn't go to the gym today. Why am I still tired? Oh, but I actually slept 8-9 hours. Why am I still tired? I didn't do anything all day today. Why do I feel so tired? And then you get into this spiral of calling yourself lazy. Well, I can almost guarantee, and you can judge by the title of this episode, that you're not lazy, you're exhausted, and you're stuck in survival mode. But here's the deal. You don't even know you're in survival mode because you've been in it so long that it feels normal. I mean, have you ever felt like you're falling behind, but you have absolutely no motivation to move forward? Have you found yourself feeling like you just can't get everything together, but you know you need to? And like I said, you start to shame yourself when you don't do the things you know you're supposed to do, or you start to ask yourself, like, why are you so lazy? Why are you so dumb? Like, why are you such a loser? Like, why can't you just do the things like you know you need to do? Da, 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 da. Like, you get into this negative mind space, you get into this negative conversation with yourself, and that's exactly what the enemy wants. You're exhausted mentally, spiritually, emotionally, maybe not physically, but because of the fact that we are so interconnected between our mind, our body, and our soul that when you're exhausted emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, your body feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. You've been carrying so much stress, so much pressure, so much disappointment, emotional weight, overstimulation, and you're trying to survive, and you've been trying to survive for so long that your mind and your body don't even know what rest feels like anymore. You're at the point right now that you're so tired and that you're judging yourself instead of trying to help yourself, because instead of realizing you're tired and you're in survival mode and you're burnt out and you just emotionally and mentally can't do it anymore, you start to beat yourself up, call yourself lazy. And that's not what we need to do right now. What we need to do right now is heal ourselves and help ourselves and actually get back to a state of homeostasis, to a state of balance, to a state where you can function like a person and not feel like you're drowning every 5 seconds. Because a lot of people right now are walking through life day in and day out, going through the motions while being completely disconnected from themselves. You wake up tired, you constantly feel overwhelmed, you can't focus, you doom scroll to escape your thoughts and try to disassociate. 1 minute you feel emotionally numb, but the next you feel overstimulated and like you feel everything. You're in this position. You're struggling to function the way that you're supposed to, and you've convinced yourself, or you keep telling yourself that it's because, like I said, you're lazy. You keep telling yourself that you're failing, that you're a bum, you're a disappointment, you're unmotivated, or that you feel broken. Or maybe you tell yourself that you are broken and that you're a burden, and like, why would anyone want to talk with me? Like, I can't even help myself. How am I supposed to help other people? Or how am I supposed to show up for work? How am I supposed to get everything done? Like, I'm not doing anything. And look, there's a million things I could say. And I'm sure there's a million things you've told yourself. The negative conversation that you're having in your head surrounding this topic has quite literally shaped you to feel like trash. Nothing. You feel numb, but you also feel everything. You feel like a failure, but you also like don't even know what to do anymore. And so, like I said, I could name 1,000 different things you've probably told yourself. And I'm going to stand here as I record this and be completely honest and vulnerable with you that I've been in that position. I've been the person who is simultaneously doing everything but feeling like I'm doing nothing. Who has felt like rest is literally impossible. But I kept going until the point that I couldn't anymore. And then I started that whole negative conversation of like, you're a failure, you're this, you're that. And I kept telling myself that I was the problem. That I see other people on social media doing all the things. Why can't I just do this? What's the matter with me? Why am I broken? Why am I this? Why am I that? God is disappointed in me. I don't even hear God anymore. And I fell away from all of the prayer, all of the worship, all of the comfort that I knew, and all of the comfort that I could rely on, because internally I was telling myself that I meant nothing. No one ever explicitly told me that I meant nothing or that I was nothing. Don't get me wrong. I've had a lot of really nasty things said to me in my life, but we're not going to get into that because you don't need to know that. All you need to know is that I was the one telling myself that God didn't love me. No one directly told me that at the time. I was communicating that to myself based off of my own feelings and my own emotions and how I viewed myself, because I felt like a failure. When the truth of the matter is, I had done so much for so long that my body was in dysfunction. My hormones were off, my emotions were off, my mental health was out the window, and I felt like a shell of a human, if I'm being honest with you. I think that's a pretty appropriate way to say it. And so the reason why I decided to record this podcast today, and the reason why I feel like this topic is so important, is because recently I've been having so many conversations with people about the survival mode aspect of life. And like I said in the beginning, so many people are living in survival mode but don't even know that they're in survival mode anymore. And I've messaged so many women this week who are just like, I don't know what to do. I don't feel like myself. I've been dealing with this for so long. I emotionally feel like I'm checked out. And you're probably one of those people. Not necessarily the one I've had a conversation with, but one of the people feeling that way. And here's the deal. The truth is, your body and your mind can't function properly if you're constantly in survival mode. And the fact of the matter is, if you never allow yourself to slow down long enough to address what's actually happening internally, eventually the exhaustion will start to affect every part of your life. Your relationships, your friendships, your work, your sleep, your health, your hormones, your digestion, all of these things. Isn't it crazy that we can actually get to the point where, because you've been in survival mode for so long, like I said, you don't even realize you're there, and the uncomfortable overstimulation becomes normal? For years, I did not know what it felt like to rest. Rest to me felt criminal. Truly. Like, I remember like just being in a car for longer than 30 minutes, sitting, for Pete's sake, for longer than a few minutes felt criminal to me. I felt fat. Like let's go into Jessica's mindset when Jessica was in her early 20s. Okay, this is what I told myself, and I'm remembering this as I'm talking. So I feel like it's important to share, because I'm probably not the only one who's felt like this or said this to themselves. Especially if you're a girl listening to me right now, I guarantee you've said this to yourself. Let's say I sat to eight. Whoa, English, Jessica. Come on. It's first language. I would sit to eat, but if I sat longer than like maybe 5-10 minutes, I started to tell myself that I was fat, that I was like, I would literally pinch my stomach. I'd pinch my body all over because I felt a certain way about myself, and I truly didn't know how it felt to just sit. My body and my cortisol was so high that it never came down. If it came down, it was maybe while I was sleeping. But then even then, I wasn't sleeping as much as I should have as a normal functioning human being. And I had completely trained my body to function off of no sleep, off of a rushed mindset, off of literally never stopping. My body did not know what it meant to stop. And so every time I did, my mind would then attack itself and say, you can't sit. That's lazy. You have so many things to do. You have to go do this. You have to go do that. You have this to get done. You have that to get done. What are you doing sitting? What are you doing taking a rest? What are you doing sitting on the couch? You can't watch a TV show. You don't have time for that. You can't sit and watch a movie. You don't have the time for that. You can't sit to eat. You better stand and eat because you have homework to do and you have to study and you have to get this done. And how are you going to build a business when you're sitting on your butt, Jessica? And like, whoo, I could go on and on and on talking about that because I remember those days so explicitly, and I feel so much pain for that version of myself. And I mean, fun fact, that's literally why I do what I do now. That's why I'm talking to you right now. That's why I'm coaching. That's why I post what I post on social media. I truly pray and listen to God, and I am using every single bit of my life that I have went through and made it through to help other people get through those tough times. Because I know for a fact, and I believe with my entire being, that God allowed me to go through hard times so that I could be able to stand here right now and talk to you about this and be open and honest about it. Because fun fact number 2, I think that's the second time I've said that, is if you can talk about something, you've healed from it. And that is why a big part of my coaching and what I do with people is getting y'all to talk. Even with my friends, even with people that I meet, it's like, hey, how are you? Like, how are you actually doing? I don't need this. Oh, I'm good. And I am so proud of my friend. The other day I saw her at church and I was just, how are you doing? And she said, I'm good. And then she took a second and she was like, no, I'm not good. I've had a really bad day. And we actually sat and talked about that for a second, because owning your feelings, owning your emotions, allowing yourself to communicate how you're actually feeling and how you're actually doing, you get control. Granted, yes, God is always in control. But I mean, you take back control from the enemy. When you don't talk about things, when you allow things to ruminate in your head, when you allow those negative conversations to continue in your head and go, you are literally giving the devil a foothold into your life. You are literally allowing the devil to have a stronghold over your mind, because he now has control. Being negative is super easy. Being positive takes work. It takes a choice. That's why you'll hear me say a lot that joy is a choice, because it is so easy to allow yourself to feel like a burden. It's so easy to allow yourself to be sad. There's so many things to be sad about, but there's also so many things to be joyful about, and so many reasons to choose joy. And I'll cut it plainly. Joy is Jesus. So when you choose joy, you're choosing Jesus. When you choose anger, sadness, depression, anxiety, you are giving the devil permission to mess around in your brain. And I apologize for the dogs barking in the background. Hopefully they stop soon. Now, going into this, what survival mode actually looks like is emotional exhaustion. And that emotional exhaustion is feeling numb, feeling irrational. Like I said, high levels of anxiety, always spiraling, snapping on people, having no more to give, needing love and affection, but also not knowing how to receive it. Emotional exhaustion feels like brain fog, overstimulation, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, doom scrolling, inability to rest, lack of motivation. And like I've just shared all of that personal things with you to let you know that I've been there and I know what emotional exhaustion feels like. And it's feeling like you always need noise or you need a distraction because you're scared of the silence. Guilt when resting is the biggest red flag that you could possibly have. That is the biggest indicator from the spirit telling you you need to chill. You also are the kind of person where being busy but not mentally present is very much a part of your life. You're busy doing things, or someone says oh, how have you been? You say busy. Busy bee. But then you don't get anything done, or you're not emotionally invested in what you're doing, and you're just oh, well, I'm busy. Doing what? On your phone? Looking at things? Because I can guarantee if you said I'm busy, try to think about 10 things that make you busy other than your job. What do you do when you get home? What do you do in the car? What do you do when you wake up in the morning? You check your phone, you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, you're doom scrolling, you're looking at things. And let me call you out on this. Listen, doom scrolling is not resting, and numbing yourself is not healing, it's avoidance. You're avoiding your problems, and you're not even allowing yourself to rest when you're doing that, because here's the deal. There is mental exhaustion, spiritual exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, and physical exhaustion. Doom scrolling is not giving your mind a break. Sure, your body gets a break, I guess, because you might be laying down or sitting while you do it. But your brain needs a break from that. You need to just sit sometimes. And that is a big reason why I feel like a lot of us now have such short attention spans, is because we never know how to stop. And that causes us to feel distracted and disconnected from joy and from life. And I'm sure you can get where I'm going with this. You can't connect with God or hear God if you're constantly distracted, if you constantly have noise, if you don't know how to just sit in silence, if you don't know how to just be, if you don't know how to just physically be present. You're not emotionally present. You're not spiritually present. You are drowning out God's voice with your doom scrolling. You're drowning out God's voice with the anxiety, the panic, the inability to relax, the lack of motivation, feeling overstimulated all the time, feeling quote unquote busy, being quote unquote busy. Like, you are drowning out the Lord. And that's exactly what the enemy wants. And you're stuck in this position because of a few things. One, constant stress, life pressure, the constant need for comparison, aka Instagram and TikTok, the unprecedented expectations that you've put on yourself and other people. And then you have emotional weight. You have, whether maybe you've experienced heartbreak recently, maybe you've experienced grief, maybe you've experienced disappointment, maybe you feel like you're carrying too much, or maybe you are carrying too much. And then a big one that I could talk about this till I'm blue in the face is boundaries, guys. Boundaries. Your lack of boundaries allows you and causes you to have emotional exhaustion. When you have no boundaries, you're literally always on. You're always available, which means you're overstimulated, and which means you're never unplugging. And then, because you feel the previous 3 things that I've said, and because that is all happening, you start to isolate yourself. Because you're overwhelmed, you're overstimulated, your brain doesn't stop, you don't know how to communicate with people anymore because you're communicating only with your phone and through your phone. You are now isolating because you are trying to handle everything alone. You're trying to do it all on your own because you don't want to be a burden. You don't like talking things through because when you talk things through, you just get overwhelmed and overstimulated again. And you don't have a community because you've isolated yourself and you have no one to talk to. But then you also pray and get upset that you have no one to talk to. But how can you have anyone to talk to when your face is in your phone? Just saying. And then the final really big no is because you are constantly stressed, you're carrying too much emotional weight, you have no boundaries, and now you're isolating yourself. You have spiritual disconnection. You're constantly distracting yourself. Like I said, you don't know how to be in silence. You're consuming too much noise, and you're never allowing God to actually speak back to you. You'll never heal if you're constantly distracting yourself from what actually hurts you. And the spiritual side to all of this, and I know I've talked about this kind of thing before, but one thing I say all the time is that if the devil can't take you out, he will try to wear you out. The enemy wants you exhausted and distracted because if he can keep you overwhelmed, you'll be disconnected from God. Now, how does the enemy do this exactly? Well, let me tell you. He gives you noise. That constant social media noise, the pressure, the comparison, the inability to sit still, the inability to concentrate enough to read your Bible, the inability to listen to worship music because you just need noise, and it's not noise. Worship is prayer. Yeah. Think about that one for a second. People that say like, I just don't like that worship music stuff. Oh, so you don't like praying? You need the noise. You need the constant like bass being super high, the beats being super high, the disassociated lyrics that mean absolutely nothing. You need that kind of stuff. Okay, cool. Then you have spiritual numbness that comes into play because you're so distracted and you can't hear God. So you think God can't hear you, but that's not the case. And then you're always taking away your time. You're always taking away your time with God instead of actually sitting with him. Because you feel like, oh, well, I don't have the time to do this. I don't have the time to sit. I don't have the time to read my Bible. Listen, make the time. God made the time and had the time to create you. I think you can spare the time to have a conversation with him while you're in your car instead of looking on TikTok while you should be driving. Okay, cool. Awesome. And fun fact, number 3, I think, if I'm off track, someone please let me know in the comments, is that you can't hear God clearly when your mind is constantly full of noise. And again, exactly what the enemy wants. He wants to be that loud voice in your head screaming at you so that you can't hear God whispering to you. Bet you didn't think about that one. But Let's also talk about why you're shaming yourself, because I think that needs to be addressed. And now, speaking of the constant noise, we see everyone on social media doing all of these things all the time, going on vacations, getting the better job, getting engaged, getting pregnant, like all of the things. And they all look like they have everything together. They look like life is great. Like I said, people get engaged, they get married, they have kids, they go on vacation, they get promoted, their businesses are growing, so on and so forth. And listen, I've, like I said, been in this space, especially being an entrepreneur, especially being someone who aspires to have a very successful business of her own. I see other people having successful businesses. I see other people making a ton of money and going on vacations and having families. And I wonder, same as you, when's it my turn? What have I done wrong? When am I going to be the one that has everything? I must not be doing enough. I should be doing more. Why can't things just work out for me? Everyone else seems like things are working for them. What's wrong with me? So what do? We get quote unquote busy. But that busy isn't productive, it's destructive. We need to reframe our mind to where we can have stillness, because you don't need to shame yourself, you need awareness. If you want to heal and learn how to slow down, you need to have compassion for yourself. Growing with God means being honest with yourself and Him. Y'all, you can't hate yourself into healing. And so I want to talk to you about what's actually going to help you. And I want to get practical. We're going to be real here. I'm not going to give you the influencer guide to rest. We're going to actually figure out what you need to do. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is that you need to slow down. God tells us to rest and tells us to be still and tells us that He will make us lie down by green pastures and tells us, come to me all who are weary. And He says all these things for a reason. You need to stop the scrolling. You need to always stop the consuming. And you need to allow yourself to be in silence. And if you feel uncomfortable in silence, a trick that I learned when I first started doing this was laying on my back with my feet up against the wall. Allow your spine to relax. Allow gravity to pull you into the floor. Slow your breathing. Close your eyes. Heck, you might even fall asleep. I know I have before. But you need to allow your body to actually just stay. Take the pressure off your back. Take the pressure off your neck. Like I said, put your feet up. Allow your body and the blood flow in your body to slow down. And the next thing I need you to do is to protect your mind. So after you listen to this episode, I want you truly to take an inventory of what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're reading. What has your attention? Because what has your attention ultimately has your affection. And then I need you to also rest intentionally. Not only when you sleep, but to actually rest. And what I mean by that, I don't mean numbing yourself. I mean being still. Because stillness is how we hear God. And in conjunction with that, spend more time with God. Spend more time with the one who created you, who loves you, who wants to take care of you. That's all God ever asks, is to invite Him in, let Him take care of us, let Him lead us, let Him guide us. We need to trust Him, so on and so forth. You know He says that. Don't act like you haven't read your Bible. Don't act like you haven't heard a sermon about it or seen some video on Instagram about it. You hear about it all the time. You just think it's not for you, right? But here's the deal. You can't always be busy and sacrifice your time with God because He needs to come first. He does. And one of the other things I want you to do is to talk to someone that you trust. Now, this could be me. If you are truly interested in working with me and letting me help you, I'm 100% here for that. And it's why I do what I do, like I said in the beginning. And I'm a coach because I want to be the person for you that I didn't have. I know there are so many people that are carrying emotional exhaustion, mental battles, life pressure, spiritual confusion, and you're in survival mode feeling completely alone. Heck, there's a reason for this episode. I make these episodes and record what I record when God puts it on my heart and when He gives me something that needs to be addressed. And there's no surprise to me that, like my Instagram, that's what I've felt compelled to post. On TikTok, I felt compelled to post a video about the same situation. And then my podcast, I've been working on it for like a week because I was like, I need to get this right because someone somewhere needs to hear this, and multiple people probably need to hear it if I'm being honest with you. But truly, I listen. I sit. I'm still. And like a lot of people can relax in different ways. I've found that a big way that I connect with the Lord is through the gym and through exercise. That's just my safe place. And that's where I feel like I hear from him a lot, whether it's me listening to a sermon while I work out, whatever the case is. I've spoken with God and heard God speak to me in my heart and just things that have popped into my head in the gym. And that's just one thing for me. But I want you to understand that I'm not just some motivational quote when I work with you. Like, I'm not just going to be that kind of person. I am the person that I want you to be able to trust me and talk with me. And every single day that I work with people, it is about like childhood trauma, everyday life, current frustrations, the Bible, literally everything. And whether it's me or a friend or a family member, like please, please, please talk to someone. Get those thoughts out of your head. Because like I said, you can't heal alone, and you can't get those thoughts out of your head by just talking to a void. You need to talk with someone who cares about you. You need to process what's happened in your life, because perspective and accountability changes everything. And one big mindset shift that I want you to make right now is to stop telling yourself that you're lazy, and don't let other people make you feel lazy. Admit your emotions, connect with yourself, empathize with yourself, and understand that you're actually just overwhelmed, and that's why you feel so disconnected. Owning your emotions starts the process. So listen to me when I say this. You're not broken. You're struggling, and that's okay. You're not the only one struggling. The biggest takeaway that I want you to hear, if you've heard nothing else, is that feeling exhausted mentally, physically, and emotionally and spiritually does not mean you're a failure. It does not mean that you're failing. It does not mean that you're lazy. And needing help does not make you weak. But what you need to do is to stop ignoring what your mind, body, and spirit have been trying to tell you for so long. So long. You've been denying yourself rest. And it's time you give yourself a break. Slow down. Reconnect with God. Protect your peace. Stop trying to carry everything alone. You don't have to. God wants to take it away from you, but you have to invite him in. He's put me in the position that I'm in my life so that I could help people, and I want to. And there's people in your life that love you and care about you that I bet don't even know that you're struggling so much. And you may also be the person who's hearing me right now who knows someone that's struggling. And I'm going to encourage you to share this episode with them, connect with them, get them to talk to you, get them to open up with you. Because life is short and life goes by really, really quickly. I would hate for you to not live yours because you're so busy surviving. I hope this message was something that you needed to hear. I hope that it helped you. I hope that it opened your eyes. You are loved. God is with you. And never forget that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Like this episode, comment, let me know if this helped you. And with all of that, share it. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm happy you're here.